Good morning to you, our viewers, and welcome to another episode on Influential Mentors. I am your host, Professor Esther Brown, and our theme for today will be Understanding the Salary Scale for Teachers. Please remember to like this video, share, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Influential Mentors GA. Now let's get right into the video. Our specially invited guests for today are Dr. Sashay Rose Walters and Dr. Janelle Black Morris. Dr. Rose Walters is an apps coach, literacy specialist, training coordinator, HSDE facilitator at BB Koch High School, and works at Hartrust NSTA for over 13 years. Dr. Black Morris is currently a lecturer at the University of West Indies, previously taught at Hardin High School for over 10 years. She's a motivational speaker and is the author of 2 books. Both Dr. Rose and Dr. Black are JTC trained mentors. Thank you very much. Now, the questions that we want Dr. Rose Walters to answer are: how many salary scales are there in the teaching profession? What determines the scale that you are placed on? How many points are on a scale? How do you move from one point on the scale to the next? How do you move from one scale to the next? And the questions that we want Dr. Black Morris to answer for us are: what is the highest point that a beginning teacher can start on the scale? What are increments? When do teachers receive these increments? Where on the scale does a teacher qualifies for seniority allowance? And how many seniority allowance can you receive? Now let's turn right over to our presenters.
Thank you, Professor, for these questions. How many salary scales are there in the teaching profession? A lot. The scale starts from the pre-trained up to principal at the tertiary level. And so you have scales such like the pre-trained, the diploma, the degree, principal, vice principal, etc. What determines the scale that you are placed on? Your qualification or your position in the education sector determines the scale at which you are paid. So, for example, you're just leaving college with no experience, you're going to start at the bottom of the scale, especially if you are not a trained teacher, but you're a specialist. Now, a specialist is someone who is not trained as a teacher, but study in a particular area. How many points are there on a scale? The points on the scale determine the scale at which you are at. It could be 9, 11, etc. The points you received are referred to as increments when you move up on the scale. Each year, you move up until you reach the end. This results in an increase in salary. In addition, when you change qualification from, say, a diploma to a degree, if you get a first class honor or a second class honor, you automatically move up 2 increments instead of starting at the beginning of the degree scale as a new teacher. Lastly, how do you move from one point of the scale to the next? Of course, it has to do with years of experience and, of course, your qualifications. See, for example, you have started teaching as a diploma teacher and then you go to do a master's. Automatically, you'll climb up on the scale. How do you move from one scale to the next? Change in qualification or change in your position. Again, say you're a classroom teacher and then you are promoted to the vice principal position. Or say, for example, you were trained in diploma and then you went to upgrade to a degree, you will move up on the scale. Thank you so much for the question. I hope you have understand everything that was said and the information can be utilized as best as possible.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof, for having us. I'm going to further discuss the teacher salary scale. My colleague has touched on some of the points already, but I'm just going to go a little more in detail in terms of increments. So she spoke about the scale, and hopefully by now everybody would have seen the difference between scale and increment, which may sometimes be confusing to persons. So scale speaks of the different positions, while increments is the points, as she mentioned earlier, or the steps on that particular scale. So it's based on the teacher's experience and the years of continuous service. So when do teachers receive increments? Teachers receive increments each year. For example, if you start teaching September 1st, the following year, September 1st, then you will receive an increase which represents 2.15% from the previous year on the teaching scale. Okay, what is the highest point that a beginning teacher can start on the scale? So a beginning teacher can skip up to 3 increments based on their GPA. And so in reference, so if you receive an honors, first class honors, so it depends on the level or the class of their graduation, or class of their degree. Alright, so this is just a part of the salary scale. This is just for teaching level. We're looking at trained graduates. We are asking about the highest. So once they're trained, that is, they're trained to be a teacher, and they're also graduates of a bachelor's degree in whatever area of specialization, then the highest that they can receive would be this amount. And this is a revised version of the salary scale, period April 1st, 2021 to March 31, right? Alright, so I'd just like to clear up something that my colleague had mentioned earlier. There is no scale for a master's teacher, right? What happens is that the teacher's salary will be based on the trained graduate's level, so they'll move up on the increments, right? Now, as it relates to seniority, when does a teacher qualify for that allowance? A teacher qualifies for the seniority allowance when they're at the maximum of their respective salary scale for 3 years. Right. How many seniority allowances can you receive? A maximum of 3 seniority allowances can be paid. Alright, so thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, you can email us at influentialmentors@gmail.com. Number and the website is there. Check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, or our YouTube channel. Thank you again, Prof.
For the right time. Yeah, yeah.